Jay here. Welcome to Beginning Drums, Chapter 19. Okay, we're going to start off with rhythms and rudiments. We're going to keep exploring our 16th notes. At this point, we have 8th note triplets, 8th notes, quarter notes, and all the rests in the mix. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, take a look at number 1. For bar 1, we're going to have 8th notes on beat 1, an 8th note rest on the downbeat of 2. We'll hit the and of that beat. Quarter note rest on beat 3 with a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 2 is going to be all 16th notes for all 4 beats. Bar 3 is going to have a half note rest for beats 1 and 2, 8th notes on beat 3, quarter note rest on beat 4. Bar 4 is going to have an 8th note triplet on beat 1, quarter note rest on beat 2, 8th note triplet on beat 3, and a quarter note rest on beat 4. Okay, here comes number 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and rest 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a rest 2, 3 and rest, 1 triplet rest, 3 triplet rest. I'm just doing these one time, but I recommend repeat each of these 4 to 8 times and try out your different tempos, slow, medium, and fast. Okay, check out number 2. For beat 1, we're going to have 16th notes, a quarter note on beat 2, and then 16th notes on beat 3 with a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 2 is a whole note rest. We won't play anything for that whole bar. Bar 3 has an 8th note triplet on beat 1, quarter note on beat 2, 8th note triplet on beat 3 with a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 4 has, for beats 1 and 2, we'll have an 8th note rest on the downbeat. We'll hit the ands of those beats and quarter notes on beats 3 and 4. Here comes number 2. 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, rest 2, 3, 4, 1 triplet 2, 3 triplet 4, rest and 3, 4. Okay, take a look at number 3. We have a quarter note rest on beat 1 with 8th notes for beats 2, 3, and 4. On bar 2, we have 16th notes for beats 1 and 2, a quarter note rest on beat 3, and a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 3 has 16th notes on beat 1, a quarter note rest on beat 2 with a half note rest for beats 3 and 4. And then bar 4 is all 8th note triplets. Here comes number 3. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and rest, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a rest 4, 1 E and a rest 3, 4, 1 triplet 2 triplet 3 triplet 4 triplet. I'm going to play number 3 just a little bit faster. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and rest, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a rest 4, 1 E and a 2, 3, 4, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So when you push your tempo, you'll definitely have some challenges in there, but remember, start off slow and make sure you got it first. Okay, take a look at number 4. We're going to have a whole note rest for bar 1. On bar 2, we're going to have 16th notes on beats 1, 2, and 3. For beat 4, we have an 8th note rest on the downbeat. We'll hit the and of that beat. On bar 3, we have an 8th note rest on the downbeat of 1. We'll hit the and of that beat. 16th notes on beat 2, quarter note on beat 3 and 4. On bar 4, we have a half note rest for beats 1 and 2, a quarter note rest for beat 3, and then on beat 4, we have an 8th note rest on the downbeat. We'll hit the and of that beat. Here comes number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a rest, and 1 and 2 E and a 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. And okay, take a look at number 5. For this one, we're going to have a quarter note on beat 1, 8th notes on beat 2, 16th notes on beat 3, and a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 2, we have an 8th note triplet on beat 1 and a quarter note on beat 2 with a half note rest for beats 3 and 4. Bar 3 has 16th notes on beats 1 with a quarter note rest on beat 2 and then back to 16th notes for beats 3 and 4. Bar 4 has 16th notes for beats 1 and 2 with quarter notes on beats 3 and 4. Here comes number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3 E and a 4. 1 triplet 2, rest, 1 E and a rest, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. Okay, and I also recommend make sure you're rotating your sticks, getting a good balance of both hands. Okay, take a look at number 6. We have an 8th note rest on beat 1. We'll hit the and of that beat. 16th notes on beat 2. Another 8th note rest on the downbeat of 3. We'll hit the and of that beat, and then an 8th note triplet on beat 4. For bar 2, we have an 8th note rest on the downbeat of 1. We'll hit the and of that beat. 8th notes on beat 2. 8th note rest on the downbeat of 3. We'll hit the and of that beat, and a quarter note on beat 4. Bar 3 has a quarter note rest on beat 1 with 16th notes for beats 2, 3, and 4. And then bar 4 is a whole note rest. Here comes number 6. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and rest and 2 and a rest and 4 triplet rest and 2 and rest and 4 rest 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a rest 2, 3, 4. Okay, take a look at number 7. We're going to have 8th note triplets for beats 1 and 2 and quarter notes for beats 3 and 4. There's a half note rest on bar 2 for beats 1 and 2, 16th notes for beats 3 and 4. On bar 3, we have 16th notes for beats 1 and 2 with a half note rest for beats 3 and 4. On bar 4, we have a quarter note on 1, quarter note rest on beat 2, 8th note rest on the downbeat of 3. We'll hit the end of that beat, and then a quarter note rest on beat 4. Here comes number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a rest, rest, 1, rest, 3 and rest. Okay, let's look at the last one. Number 8, we're going to have 16th notes for the first bar, 16th notes for the second bar, whole note rest on bar 3, and then 16th notes for bar 4. So a lot of 16th notes here. 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a rest 2, 3, 4 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. I'm going to push my tempo a little bit for that one. 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4 1, 2, 3, 4 rest 2, 3, 4 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's take a look at the rudiment for the chapter. Today we're going to do the double drag tap. Okay, now we can think of this like a single drag tap with another grace note drag before it, but we're going to basically be turning, we're going to be making this into an 8th note triplet rhythm, and we're going to have a couple drags with our same sticking into a single with an accent after it. So there's going to be 3 notes, but 2 of them are drags. That means we're going to do 2 quick doubles before those first 2 notes. Okay, so if we think of a right drag, and just so you know, drags can be called a rough too. Okay, so if I do a right drag, I'm going to hit my left stick 2 times right before it. So that's a drag. Do it again. So if we do 2 of those, and then a left, that's going to be what we're looking for, and then we'll flip our sticks and we'll try it with the opposite sticking too. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start the process. Take a look at number 1. We're going to start off in 3/4 time, and we're just going to make them quarter notes. So we're not going to have the drags per se for this one. We're just going to go right, right, left, 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 right. So let's just count it in 3. 1, 2, 3. Right, right, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right. Okay, now let's go ahead and put some drags in front of them. So if we do 2 right drags, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. That's going to be the concept. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right. Okay. Now let's go ahead and start to get into the 8th note triplet rhythm. Okay, for number 3, we're going to do it in 2/4 time, and we're just going to do 2 beats of 8th note triplets like this. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, and we're going to do that sticking of the right, right, left, 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 right. 1, 2 triplet, right, right, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, right, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right. Okay, now we're going to add the drags in there. So if we think of that triplet, 1 triplet, we'll just have those drags before those first 2 hits. So 1 triplet, and we'll have a quarter note rest on beat 2, and then we'll flip our sticks, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, rest. So that's going to be the concept. 2 double drag taps with the different stickings. 1, 2 triplet, rest, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, rest. Left, left, right, right, left, rest, right, left, left, right, rest. Okay, let's go ahead and go to number 5. Now we're going to do 2 double drag taps back to back, and we'll flip our sticks. Okay, so if we think about it like 1 triplet, 2 triplet, that's going to be the sound. Left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay, I'm going to count it in. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. 1 triplet, 2 triplet. Okay, there's the double drag tap. I'll do it a little bit faster just for fun. All right, welcome to Beats and Fills. Okay, this chapter's beat is going to have a bass drum on the downbeat of 1, bass drum on the and of 2, and then eighth notes in our bass drum on beat 3. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. This will be the quarter note version of this beat. Beat 1 is basic, so that's a bass drum and a hi-hat. On beat 2, we'll have a snare and hi-hat on the downbeat, bass drum by itself on the and of 2. On beat 3, we'll have a bass drum and hi-hat on the downbeat, bass drum by itself on the and of 3, and then a snare and hi-hat on beat 4. Okay, so here's beat number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, for beat number 2, this is going to be the eighth note version of the beat. Beat 1 is going to be basic, so that's a bass drum and hi-hat on the downbeat, and a hi-hat on the and of 1. Okay, on beat 2, we're going to have a snare and hi-hat on the downbeat, and then we'll hit hi-hat and bass drum on the and of 2. Beat 3 is going to be eighth notes with both our bass drum and hi-hat, 3 and then beat 4 is basic, so that's snare and hi-hat on the downbeat, and then an eighth note in our hi-hat for the and of 4. Okay, here's beat number 2. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, beat 3 will be the 16th note version of this beat. Beat 1 is going to be basic, so that'll have our bass drum on the downbeat, 1, E, and we're going to have a bass drum on the and of 2, so that'll sound like this with our snare on the downbeat, 2, E, and Beat 3 is going to have eighth notes in our bass drum, sounds like this, 3, E, and then beat 4 is basic, so that's snare on the downbeat, 4, E, and okay, here's beat number 3. 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and. do some fills. Okay, first step is to play a given rhythm, all snare, and then we'll do that same rhythm on the drum set somewhere. And then the third part is for you to make up your own drum fill and write it on the staff, and we're gonna do 4 of these. Okay, so for fill number 1, this is just gonna be 16th notes all the way through, all snare. Okay, for part 2 of number 1, we're going to go around the horn with our 16th notes. That's going to be snare, 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 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, now it's time for you to make up your own drum fill. So you have 4 beats of 16th notes. That's 12 notes to work with. Let's say we want to be creative with it and maybe get kind of tricky. Let's say if you want to do something like a 2, snare, snare, 1, all you would do is write in your tom number 2, that's on the second to top line. Snare, snare is on the second to top space, and then your tom 1 is on the top space. Connect all those with 4 stems going straight up, and then 2 flags going straight across the top, and you got yourself your beat 1. And then for beats 2, 3, and 4, you could put anything you'd like in there. Let's say if you want to just put beat number 2, we'll do it all floor tom. Just write in 4 notes on your floor tom. That's the second to bottom space. Let's say if I want to do back to my snare for 4 notes on beat 3, I just put in all my 4 notes on my snare. And let's say if I want to end it off with bass drum and crashes for those last 4 notes, I would just connect my bass drum on the bottom space with my crash. That's a circled X above the top line. And then put 4 of those in together, and you got yourself your beat 4, and you've created your own drum fill, just like that. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. For this one, we're going to start off with a quarter note on beat 1, quarter note rest on beat 2, and then beat 3 and 4 is all 16th notes, and this is all snare. Okay, the way I put this one on the drum set, for beat 1, the quarter note will be a flam on tom 1, quarter note rest for beat 2. On beat 3, we're going to split up our 16th notes with a snare, snare, 1, 1, and then beat 4, we're going to split up those 16th notes with a snare, snare, 2, 2. Okay, for fill number 3, we're going to start off, first 2 beats are 8th note triplets, quarter note on beat 3, and then 16th notes on beat 4. This is all snare. Okay, the way I arrange this one for the drum set, beat 1 is going to be an 8th note triplet on tom 2, beat 2, 8th note triplet on tom 1. The quarter note on beat 3 is going to be a choke, that's a bass drum and reinforced choke, so bass drum crash, choking it. And then beat 4 is going to be a snare, snare, snare 1 with my 16th notes. Okay, let's look at number 4. For this one, we're going to start off with 16th notes on beat 1. On beat 2, there'll be an 8th note rest on the downbeat, and we'll hit the end of that beat, and then a half note rest for beats 3 and 4. Okay, the way I arrange this one, we're going to split up our 16th notes on beat 1 with a 4, 4, 1, 1. And then on the end of 2, I put in a flam on tom 2. And that's it for that one. Okay, now let's combine our beats and fills. The goal here is to play 4 bars of our beats from the chapter and then do a 1-bar fill. You could play any fill you want. You could play your fill. You could play one of mine for the snare or the drum set. I've given you examples of my orchestrated fills for the drum sets for numbers 1, 2, and 3. So let's look at number 1 here. That's going to be the quarter note beat version of this beat, and we're going to do it 4 times, and then I'm going to go into my fill number 1 on the drum set. Okay, now it's time for you to improvise your own drum fill. Just play any of the beats 4 times and then do your own fill, just whatever comes naturally. You can make it up right there on the spot. You can think about it a little bit, but the goal is just to let it flow and have some fun, hit anything you like, but still keeping our beats and our counts going. So 4 bars of a beat, 1 bar fill. You can do any fill you like. Welcome to the study. Today we're going to talk about halftime feel. Okay, halftime feel is when we're going to shift our backbeat. Instead of being on 2 and 4 with our snare like we've been doing, we're going to move that backbeat to beat 3, and it's going to give us like a halftime feel where it almost sounds half as slow, but we're going to keep our tempo still in our head, so we're still keeping track of that beat. So it's a feel. It's not actually slowing down the song. That's a different concept where we just change our tempos. But this one's still keeping our normal beat, but moving our backbeat to give that illusion almost of a slower beat. So it's going to kind of pull it back. It's really fun. It's real powerful too. I definitely enjoy doing these kind of concepts. Okay, so when we put our snare backbeat on beat 3, if you take a look at number 1, this would just be like a quarter note beat. We're just going to put our bass drum on beat 1, and our snare is going to go on beat 3 this time. So if you notice, no snare on beat 2 and 4, no bass drum on beat 3, just a bass drum on 1 and a snare on 3. Okay, for number 2, we're going to have quarter notes still going on. We're going to put our bass drum this time on beats 1 and 2, and our snare is on that 3, giving us the halftime feel. Okay, for number 3, we're going to have our bass drum on beat 1, snares on beat 3, and then our bass drum is on beat 4. Okay, now that you've done some halftime feel beats, they might just sound like a normal beat to you, but once we put them in action, hopefully you'll start to feel that feeling of pulling it back a little bit. Okay, so for number 4, we're going to do 4 bars of our basic quarter note beat into a halftime feel beat. And for this beat, we're going to do the one where we just have a bass drum on beat 1, and our snare is now on beat 3. So 4 bars each, basic quarter note into our halftime feel beat. And feel that tempo, almost feels like you're pulling back a little bit, like you're pulling the reins of the horse or something like that, or hitting your brakes on your car. But we're still keeping that same quarter note though. So we're still feeling where that beat is, because we may go back again to that original beat, depending. Okay, for number 5, now we're going to explore some 8th note halftime feel beats. For this one, we're going to have our bass drum on beat 1 and our snares on beat 3, and then we have 8th notes in our right hand. For number 6, now we have bass drums on beats 1 and 2, snares on beat 3. For number 7, we have a bass drum on beat 1, snares on beat 3, and a bass drum on beat 4. Okay, let's take a look at number 8. For this one, we're going to switch from a normal backbeat, 8th note beat. We will have 8th notes on beat 3 for this beat, along with our downbeat on beat 1. We're going to do that 4 times, and then we're going to go into a halftime feel beat with our 8th notes, and that beat's going to have bass drum on beats 1 and 2, and our snare moves to beat 3. So 4 bars each, setting up halftime feel with our 8th note beat this time. Okay, for number 9, now we're going to explore some 16th note halftime feel beats. For this one, we'll have 16th notes in our right hand, and then we'll put our bass drum on beat 1 and our snares on beat 3. For number 10, we're going to have bass drums on beats 1 and 2, snares on beat 3. For number 11, we're going to have bass drum on beat 1, snares on beat 3, and bass drums on beat 4. Okay, for number 12, we're going to do a basic 16th note beat for 4 bars, and then we'll go into a halftime feel 16th note beat, and that's going to have bass drum on beat 1, snares on beat 3, and bass drums on beat 4. All right, let's take a look at number 13. For this one, we're going to do an exercise with some fills and switching. We're going to start off with the drum fill. This is all snare. It's going to have a quarter note on beat 1, 8th notes on beat 2, 16th notes on beats 3 and 4. Then we'll go into a basic quarter note beat on our hi-hat for 4 times. Okay, we'll do an 8th note fill. This one's going to go snare, snare, 1, 1, snare, snare, 4, 4. And then we'll go over to the ride for a halftime feel beat. That's going to be bass drum on 1, snares on 3, and 4 times of that beat. Number 14, we're going to do a similar concept. This time we're going to be using eighth notes in our beat. So for the lead-in fill, we'll do all snare, 2 beats of 16th notes, 2 beats of eighth notes. Then we'll go to the ride for a basic rock beat with eighth notes, 4 times. Okay, now we're going to do a 16th note fill. That's going to go snare, 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 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, snare, 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 snare. Okay, then over to the hi-hat for your eighth note halftime feel beat. That beat's going to have eighth notes in your hi-hat and bass drum on 1, and your snare is on 3. Redo. Number 15, we're going to go into a 16th note concept for a halftime feel. Okay, this one's going to lead in with a drum fill, all snare. It's going to go 8th notes on beat 1, 16th notes on beat 2, 8th notes on beat 3, and a quarter note on beat 4. Then we'll go to our hi-hat for a basic 16th note beat 4 times. Okay, now we're going to do some flams, and that's going to do a flam on your snare for beat 1, flam on tom 1, for beat 2, flam on tom 2, for beat 3, and then back to a flam on your snare for beat 4. Okay, then we'll go to our ride for a halftime feel 16th note beat. Now that's going to have bass drum on beat 1, and snare on beat 3. Okay, now I also wanted to give us a 12/8 beat feel for this because we can put halftime feel also into the 12/8 meter. So for this one, let's remember our 12/8. That's how we're counting 12/8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we're feeling it in 4 beats. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, now after playing 12/8 notes all snare, then we'll go over to our ride for a basic 12/8 note beat, and that's going to be 4 times. Okay, then we're going to do a 8th note fill. It's going to be 3 on each drum. On beat 1, that's 3 notes on your snare. We'll go to tom 1 for 3 notes, tom 2 for 3 notes, and then back to snare for 3 notes. And then over to your hi-hat for a halftime feel 12/8 beat. So we haven't done this one yet. It's a really fun one. We're going to put our bass drum on beat 1, and that snare goes to beat 3. And that's going to give us that halftime feel in 12/8 time. Number 17. Now we're going to start off with a halftime feel, do a fill, and we'll go into like kind of our normal backbeat on 2 and 4. So for the first part, we're going to go 4 bars of a quarter note halftime feel beat. This one's going to have quarter notes in your right hand, bass drums on beats 1 and 2, snares on beat 3. So after 4 times of that, we'll do a drum fill. That's going to be 1 bar, and it's 8th notes on beats 1 and 2, all snare. On beat 3, we'll put a flam on the downbeat on your snare. And then on the and of 3 is the bass drum, back to another flam quarter note, this time on your snare for beat 4. Okay, now up to your crash, and we're going to just go into like a quarter note rockin' beats. It's going to have your bass drum on beat 1, and then 8th notes in your bass drum on beat 3, normal snare backbeat this time on 2 and 4. So 4 times of that, kind of flipping around the concept of starting with halftime feel and then going into our normal backbeat. thank you so much for watching. We'll see you for chapter 20. Cheers.